I could talk about a few different things, but can we talk about what my comment on your video the other day about my question about I can read it if you don't remember.
I don't remember. I get,
Okay,
and
I'll read it.
I'm
It's
behind answering questions. So
Can you
yeah,
tell
no
us which
worries.
video? Can you tell us which video it was,
I
Jen?
think it's called Dissolving the Perception of Reality. It's
mm,
one of the more recent ones. Six Better exercise number 2.
thank you.
So I said, hi, Pernell, you say at the end here, and that happens for you to navigate the world. It doesn't happen because it's real. It can't be. And you were talking about how, when you're walking, you have feet that are walking on the sidewalk, and there's, your body because of the sensation of your clothes as you're walking, and all of these things, these stories happen to describe this. And then you say, but it happens for you to navigate the world. It doesn't happen because it's real. It can't be. And then I said, can you explain a little more, like, why can't it be? Why can't it be?
Didn't I reply
You
to that?
did. You did. And you said, I love your question. If I, instead of saying it's not real, um, if I could point to that it's inaccurate, does that clarify it for you?
Yeah.
What we perceive with the senses are only only a perception made by the receptors.
Yeah.
It does not create the object out there. It does only perceive it as real. It does only perceive it as real. And that can only be our perception.
I thought it was brilliantly clear. But what is your question? Is it
Well, maybe I'm trying too hard to understand it as opposed to embody it,
yeah, okay.
But
If I can draw your attention to when we work with the sixth feather, right? What we want to become aware of is how much we are identifying with our perception. So I see a leaf, there is a leaf there. What we are playing with all the six feather exercises is questioning the perception of it. That when I look at the leaf, I'm not really seeing the leaf. I'm recognizing a leaf. I know it's a plant, which means there must be a leaf attached to it. What is hanging there is a leaf. I would be surprised if I went over and touched it and it turned out to be a tassel hanging from something. So it's that, for example, now you look at me, right? The gestalt in the brain of you assume that I have legs. How do you know if I have legs? We never talked about it. I might be disabled. I might not have legs. And it's that perception with things, that identification with perception that is happening without us even being aware of it. And it's happening all the time because the brain does it all the time. The
okay.
issue is that we place an I in the middle of it, saying that I see, I hear, I taste, I smell, I touch, I know. What we're questioning is, first of all, removing that I with the first feather, and then we're just looking into the perception that whatever you think you perceive, that you see, hear, taste, smell, and touch, it is inaccurate. It can never be accurate. I've said real. It's a dangerous word to use, and I understand that you misunderstood
Wait,
or didn't couldn't use that word. So let's use inaccurate instead.
it's inaccurate because I can't know, because
No,
I
because you
simply
can't,
can't know.
because you haven't got all the information. Find something you look at in front of you.
Okay, so out the window, and I've talked about this before. Out the window, I see the highway and there's cars going by.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah. If
I
right now,
perceive them as cars going by.
yeah. If
So
we
are you saying there aren't people, like I can't know that those are actual cars? with people in them?
No, it probably is. If we go down to the highway, you will probably see
Yeah.
it is cars going by, probably. On one level, it's the part about if you see a car coming towards you. I'm gonna post a lot of six feather exercises that are teasing with this, that the brain thinks something by seeing something. So when you see a car coming towards you, you know it's coming towards you because it gets bigger, right? In the
Yes.
visual field is telling you it's a small car that is getting bigger. There are lots of those teasing things where it looks like something is far away, but then it's not. It's just really small that is closer to the camera.
Hmm.
It's that. So when you look out and at the highway and you look at all the cars going by, just by looking out the window, you see highway and all the cars. If you play with that, start to play with that. For example, tell yourself that is not the highway, it's a painting. It's absolutely flat. It's not 3D. It's absolutely flat. When you sit and look at it, it will start to look flat. And instead of it being, two roads that one direction is there and the other direction is here, you will see that one is higher than the other one because it's flat, you know?
Hmm. That's that 2D thing.
Yeah, exactly. On another level, and that's the level that Todd and I rarely talk about because it's not really useful. It's that radical non-dualist Tony Parson, Jim Newman thing that it just is that there are no cars and there are no, and it's completely correct. I mean, we know that now from quantum mechanics that we actually don't know what a car is. We only know what we perceive to be a car, and that makes it useful in our everyday life. But in itself, it's just, atoms that are put together, density is higher, and so, but we don't really know what it is. We only know what we can perceive it to be. But that level, you rarely hear Todd and I talk on that level because it's not practical, and it's not really useful for anything. It's just fun fact.
Right. That's more understanding.
Yeah, it's more cerebral understanding.
Hmm.
It's not really
Yes.
the lived experience with it.
Yeah.
So what would you um six feather wise, how can I help you with seeing through that delusion of a subject object? How can I help you with that right now?
I don't know. I think I just probably have to just get back to the direct experience over and over again. Um, because the thoughts come in. That's even when I'm meditating at night, right? In this same room with my eyes closed, I can hear the cars.
Mm.
And then
No,
and
but
then I
ask
notice
yourself,
those are the cars.
yeah, ask yourself, how do you know? What could that be? Because it's your mind that is saying those are cars. I would like for you to notice that when you close your eyes, you create a mental image of those cars.
Yes.
Which means is it the hearing combined with a mental image of cars that is giving you the idea that there are cars? Or how do you actually know that there are cars when your eyes are closed and it's dark and the curtains are drawn? And
Hmm.
in your direct experience, how do you know that is cars? You don't. You can rely on time because you remember looking out the window and there were cars. Rely on the memory of the sound of cars, and that sound of cars is paired with a mental image of cars, maybe an
Hmm.
image you saw previously during the day, and that is funny. It's really fun to do that. So you're lying in your bed at night, the curtains are drawn, and then you look at the image presented for your eyes. It might actually be daylight where the cars are driving, so it's not actual right now what is happening. It's a memory.
Yes. It's all a memory.
Hmm?
Okay. anything that any thought that comes to describe something is a memory.
Yeah, but the next thing I would
Cool.
like for you to do is then when you're lying in bed at night and you're having an image of the cars driving by and it's daylight and the cars are driving by. Where exactly are the cars driving by? Where exactly is that happening? It's happening at zero distance, right? Because you have an image of daylight cars driving by. It's not the cars out in the road we're talking about anymore. It's your thoughts about cars. You could record the sound, go on holiday, play the sound, and have exactly the same experience, even though there are no cars and it's a recorded, a recording of the cars driving. And you would have the same mental image of a daylight cars driving by while you're lying on Hawaii, you know, because it's not actually the cars we're talking about. It's a mental image that we're talking about. And then your mind goes in and say, those are the cars out on the highway. But it can't be. It's just a perception that tells you that those are the cars out on the highway.
Okay.
It's a mind fart.
I'd love to say something right here because I've had a huge experience with cars on the highway. I'd love to share it if you'd like to hear it.
Sure.
So I live on a busy road, and this happened a couple of years ago, probably. And I got to where I would just really, really relax, get into a really lovely laying down meditation space, not really having a lot of thoughts, and just kind of straight up listen to the sounds of the cars. And this was before I'd even heard this, just the sound is just the sound, scene is just the scene. I didn't know that sutta, but I was doing that unbeknownst to myself. I was doing that. And I just kept listening to the sounds and listening and listening and not giving them any labels, just listening. And all of a sudden, the it was all happening right. It was like I was the road, I was the cars. It was all one thing happening. That was a really breakthrough moment for me that without any mind chatter, that these things will kind of merge.
Mm.
So I would offer that up because it was kind of a breakthrough, a turning point about cars. And another thing about sounds, because you're talking about sounds too, that's been really, really helpful for me. I live in a big house all alone, and all of a sudden there'll be a weird sound, and I'm not a frightened person, so this won't work for people that are fearful. But I would get to where I knew I didn't know what it was. It was weird, it was an odd sound, and I didn't try to figure it out. I was determined not to try to figure it out. And it taught me seems like it taught me how not to try to figure out sounds. And maybe a week later, I'd be downstairs in the basement in a room where I store a bunch of stuff, and I would see that a box had fallen off the shelf. Well, oh, that must have been that really loud sound that freaked me out the other night for just a second, until I decided I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to let that sound be a sound and not try to figure it out. And that changed my relationship with sound.
It's a really interesting one you're talking about, Liz, because it's that part about that when we hear a sound, immediately an image come, and if we can't find an image that fit, it's gonna be like image of other stuff that might fit that sound until we found, oh, it's a box in the basement. Ah, okay. And then we can relax. We don't know anything about if it was a box in the basement or if it was, a towel in the bathroom. We don't know anything, but it's just whatever we feel fits. And that is part of that weird delusion that is happening, like I talked about with the cars, small car that is coming towards you, that is getting bigger, that we have that delusion about it, that it needs to fit something.
And that's what's happening. I was noticing I'm trying to find an answer.
Mm.
And it was like, no, no, I don't need to know. Everything's fine, and that would be the end of it. And So it was a beautiful
Yeah.
way to
Yeah,
Really
experience.
funny to experience that grasping, that
Yeah,
pull that is
that
happening.
is,
Yeah.
yeah,
like you,
that is the fetters though, trying to figure it out. I mean, that's what I realized with what fetter one, where it was like, oh, all this time I've been trying to figure out life and how I could figure out life as a person, how
Mm.
to figure this out, how my thoughts would help me figure this out
Mm.
to make my life work,
Yeah, and
and
safe.
it's like,
Safe.
oh, all the thoughts can't help you figure it out because you don't, you could never know the vastness of this.
Yeah.
And that's why it was so helpful to be in like Vince's group, I think, and to talk to Todd and everyone there, because it was like they taught me how to do the direct experience and also the kind of conceptual understanding of like, when somebody would say like, this is so vast, how could you ever know this?
Yeah. Exactly.
Your thoughts can only point to,
Yeah.
a part of it. But so yeah, I get how it's more subtle and subtle with each fetter.
Yeah.
But so one more question. Like I think with the 4 or 5 stuff still, you know how you say stillness, simplicity, and contentment. I think that like I'm still doing that. I'm still using that as like a bypassing when I notice a reaction that comes, the sensation that comes. So like when my husband says something or my daughter says something, I think that I'm still like doing the, oh well, there's no me to be upset here, or oh, just come back to stillness. I think I'm using that
As a
stillness,
bypassing.
simplicity.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm doing it very fast. Like it's happening so fast because I did break Fetter one, so I do know that. So it's like I'm using that, I think, to like not just shut up and feel the
It's
like, because even that thought, oh, stillness, simplicity, contentment. Oh, it's just this kind of. It
I
happens so fast.
I'm so happy you're bringing it
Oh,
up.
sorry.
Even though we might not going to talk about this, I'm just really, really happy you're bringing it up because we've talked a lot about it. And I'm so sorry if I'm offending you now in any way, but we call that spiritual arrogance. It's that, oh no,
Yeah,
first feather has fallen. I am beyond first feather. There's no identification with I am not identifying with first feather. It's like, oh, so I love that you're bringing it up, and it's so um it's why we put so much emphasis on all the feathers being a wheel, because you might be in a position right now where you're ready to see something deeper about the first feather, and by you spiritual bypassing, you're not looking in to the gift that is there for you. There's something deeper that you need to feel into. So when your daughter says something and something is happening in your body, what she says, it's just a hologram, you know? The words that are coming out of her mouth is just a hologram. Her standing there is just a hologram. That is irrelevant. It's super, super relevant what is happening in the body. Stay with that, stay with that, stay with that. Breathe with it. Feel it, make it expand, make it bigger. Allow it to be there instead of just going like, there's no I'm not feeling anything. Because that's just spiritual arrogance.
it
When
is.
I
Yeah.
hear people say, no, no, I don't need to do the lessons in the first feather. I am done with the first feather. I'm like, oh, really? Really? Are you sure? We're never ever done with the first feather. The first feather is about identification. All 10 feathers are about identification. The first feather is just the first one we look at, identification with thought. We could have looked at something else.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
allow it to be there. You're not going back in your experience. You're not going back on your path or anything like that. There's nothing linear happening here. You're just having a deeper experience of something that you previously didn't, look at and saw was there. It's like when you start in school and you start to learn 3 vowels and some consonants, and then you can create a few words, and you're so excited about that. And suddenly you realize that there are many, many more. There's so many different ways you can do it. And then it's like saying, no, 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 I've learned 3 vowels. It's enough. I don't need to learn any more.
Yeah, because it's so subtle too when it
Yeah,
happens.
yeah,
Little teeny bit of resistance that
yeah.
I just, yeah, I'm noticing that I'm
Beautiful.
not saying it. Yeah. So
Yeah,
thank you.
beautiful.
Because I wasn't around for a couple of months. So now I'm going back to the Feather 5 videos and stuff. So that's
Yeah,
why
love
I'm noticing it more now. So thank
love
you.
it. Absolutely love it. Love it. And when you have that that thought of, but it can't be that, and it's just her, and it's fine, everything is just fine. Just really slow down, slow down, slow down. How does it feel in the body? Does it feel calm? Do you feel stillness, simplicity, and contentment, or are you diverting right now? Is there something that needs your attention and your love and your compassion and unconditional acceptance? Then stay with it. Stay with it. It's completely fine. It doesn't say anything about your daughter or your husband or anything. It doesn't say anything about you. Not at all. It's just something that needs to be felt. That's it.
Got it. Thank you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you.